everybody, welcome back to whatever this is called, the podcast where we're not afraid to tell the patty cakes. We're freaks too. I am Scott Taylor, as always, here with Mr. Steven Garcia. Steve, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. I had a great Thanksgiving, and it's really cool to have minimal. I don't have any podcasts to edit this week, so it's awesome. I'm ready. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk episode 6.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 more of these things. Episode 6 released this week, so we're here to talk about Welcome to Derry and what happened this week in the town of Derry with the kids, with the adults, with Pennywise. We got some information that we were kind of expecting about Periwinkle this week. We got to see Lily basically get tortured through the whole episode while the other kids are all having fun and drinking
And flirting.
Army Cokes, Air Force Cokes, right?
Yeah.
They're having fun. Lily's off getting,
Terrorized.
terrorized physically and mentally. So let's dive in. Where do you want to start?
Well, picking up the emotional debris of what was episode 4. Teddy's lineage continues to haunt him. His oh wow, I got a bat in the cave. Hold on, shit. Anyways, let's see. Teddy's lineage and the town's adults seem to be more passive about the evilness that's in the town, and it's just the episode kind of took a step into kind of the darkness of what the power of Pennywise can kind of do, and how it overtakes this town. And again, we've talked about it in other earlier episodes about how the racism and all the evilness of that time period, how much of that is just as much of an allure to Pennywise as the kids are, of eating and feeding. Again, we're talking about the kind of, what is it, the marination of of the evil, or of the fear and evil. And so I wonder how much of that is at play here, because that when they show, and we'll get to this later, but when they show up at the end with the mask, they're all look like clown type of masks. So there's some influence there, but to the extent, it's interesting just to see. Yeah.
It's definitely this underlying spark in the town, just racism as a whole. And I grew up New England. My dad spent a lot of time in Maine, in small town Maine and stuff, and the stories that I heard from that, it's in line. It lines up pretty well.
Yeah, I've heard some stuff about Maine, and I've never been there, and I'm not disparaging it, but I've heard that Maine is pretty. It's pretty. What's the word? Rural. A lot of it is really rural. Is that true? I don't know.
Yeah. There's a good portion. It's like Canada Light, right? It's
okay. Yeah.
It's just right there on the border. And if you're staying along the main highway, you've got little outbursts of towns and people and stuff like that. But population isn't huge. Everything's down the road a piece.
Yeah.
So and especially my dad was born in 1925. So you've got some years between that and the 60s, but I definitely could see the racism building in small town Maine, and these new laws and policies and openness to people of every race and color and creed, taking a little adjusting to get used to in small town Maine.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that it's there, but Pennywise it's definitely poking it with a stick. That's what it's doing, just poking.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see what happens next week. We saw the end of this episode. That this episode was kind of just them just building everything up so that they can just rip it out from underneath us, right? It's like everything's going to go wrong, so let's make everybody happy so it's even the bigger fall.
I mean, I think that the reveal, I guess we all could kind of see it, but the reveal of Ingrid, I think Kirsch, as the daughter of Bob Gray, and seeing that kind of come to light again. Yeah, a good observation of you saying like, yeah, they're kind of just building things up just to kind of let there's more at stake, I guess, in the last two episodes. But my feeling is that in the next episode we're going to see the fire at the black spot, and then the last episode is going to be the confrontation of the effects of that, and Pennywise trying to get back to sleeping or slumber or whatever it is, and the kids. But he turns up another 27 years later, so that whatever the kids do, it's not going to kill it, and so it's just interesting to kind of see where if episode 1 is any indication of how they're setting things up, in the series, is that no one's safe. So it'd be interesting to see who bites the dust and who stays. And we know at least Hanlon, what's his name, the son.
Will. Is it Will?
Will, that's right. He at least survives because he has to have Mike, right? That's his grandson, or it's not his son.
Yeah, so that'll be his son.
Oh, okay.
So in the movies is then raised by the grandfather, who's in this series. I mean, it's interesting because you get to see a lot of Hanlon Senior. You get to see him kind of change, like get that anger building up. Will just lets loose with talking back for the first time ever. And normally you think that he would be, at the beginning, episode 1, episode 2, you see that he's kind of even keeled, right? He's not afraid of anything. So he's just takes things at face value and goes from there. But you could see just from him slapping him this time that he just couldn't withhold that. And that's just going to grow and grow and grow until he becomes the grandfather in episode, the first movie. And you kind of see how he gets there.
Yeah. Well, and it's also kind of this breakout of what the series has kind of built up until now, is that he's always kind of gone along with his father just because he wants that connection, even though that connection is really not really congruent to each other's strengths or weaknesses, or, it seems to be that the older old man brain, I can't keep
I'm horrible with names too. Just go with us, people. Come on.
But and that lash out is just Will's, kind of like not growing up, but just kind of becoming his own person, in a weird way, because he knows the effects of what this thing is, Pennywise's effect on the town. And he even says it too. He says that, oh, it's gotten you, or yeah, you've changed too, or something at the end before he runs out. And I think that that's a big factor in kind of weeding out the people that are allies or foes or whoever it is, So it's interesting. This episode really kind of, like you said, it was just kind of a big drop of lore, the black spot and how do we get there, but I think they did it in a really cool way. The kids showing up at the black spot and kind of trying to get Ronnie back on their side. I hope she gets out of that place, or I hope those kids get out.
Yeah, I who knows what's going to happen. We'll have to wait till next week to see if anyone survives out of the fire there. I have a feeling, if I'm going to make a prediction, I think at some point Charlotte is going to die. I think that's just got to happen to turn Hanlon Senior into the character in the movies. He needs that loss there. If he had her in his life for that entire period, or at least a good chunk of that time period, I don't think he would be.
Yeah, I think that's. Let's see. Welcome. Yeah, I think that's going to be the catalyst of his kind of, or that we see in the movies at least. Yeah, can't wait to see what happens. But so what else is going on in the episodes?
So with the kids, we've got them dealing with the shard, the magical shard.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So they're dealing with that. You've got Lily, not wanting to share it, wanting to hold on to it, feeling like it's her personal item and her personal drive to make sure that gets used against Pennywise.
Yeah.
She's doing that, but you've got the other kids off almost with Will and Ronnie And then
Yeah.
you've got the other two, you know, checking out eye holes, uh, drinking Air Force Cokes, playing drums
Yeah.
in a jazz band. Like they're just having a jolly old time. You don't,
Yeah.
and that's all you see. You can see them kind of just living their life, and you get a moment of what it would be like without Pennywise involved.
Yeah, I think I love I mean, I love that whole sequence, especially the kid playing the drums, you know, the Ricky Ricardo reference, I think. That's how I took it because he's always talking about how he's Cuban. And yeah, it was interesting because I think that's kind of the lull you in, like, oh, everything's fun and cool, and then those guys show up and kind of turns the tables there. Yeah, it's just gonna be fucking. You know, it's this thing of like, you know what's going to happen, and this dread that kind of comes with it, and now it's kind of coming, and it's at this point. It just fills me with like this, I don't know, sense of dread, I guess, of like, man, this is going to be hard to watch, but you know, it's a good series, so they kind of work it up well.
I kind of expect when we get to episode 8 that they're going to take some time, and maybe it's not a substantial amount, but I have a feeling it's going to flash forward to the next cycle and early on in the next cycle to show us a little bit of how it all ties in with that next one. I have a feeling they're going to do that, and I hope they do, because I think it'll be really neat to see little, you know, things that they didn't fully explain that they can just kind of tie in with that little brief glimpse, you know, maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes of the episode. And hopefully they plan to do that every season too, because they could be filming that now with these characters, right? To be able to show a little bit before what happened episode 1, like episode 0.5, and show us kind of a little bit more about the military getting there and setting up. You know, next season they could show us that right before first episode. They could show us just a little bit more at the end of each season for what happened next.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, definitely. What did you get a sense of when you saw the kids at the black spot having a good time? Did you kind of, I mean, I don't know, when I saw that, I was just completely like, man, like, I just don't want to really see what happens and how it, how were you feeling when you saw that?
Yeah, I didn't expect the raid on the place to happen this episode. I thought they would just have this party and they'd be, you know, having fun, and then, you know, the next episode they throw a bigger one so there's more people there, and then that's when it would actually happen.
Yeah.
So I thought it was just building up to that point, and they were just getting a little bit of respite to enjoy themselves and build it up to show everything's good, get that false sense of security. I didn't actually expect it to come down that episode.
Yeah. I mean, and also I wanted to ask, yeah, I mean, I agree. I didn't expect it to happen or start at this episode. But the thing that kind of, it didn't take me out, and I enjoyed this, not enjoyed, but I appreciated this kind of incongruency, I guess, you lack of a better word. But this idea that Charlotte kind of brought this fugitive to the black spot and kind of included all these people. Now, Dick Hallorann is like, leave me out of this, you know, and we could talk about what he's going through too, but this idea that she's bringing him there, and she's, I mean, could you say that she's maybe the reason why these people are coming to the black spots, because of the police chief got that tip, you know, maybe is from Pennywise, but did that kind of infuriate you? Did it make an impression on you at all, of this thing of Charlotte kind of including, hey, we're going to bring him here, and possibly the reason why what goes down goes down?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is you try to do good and it doesn't turn out well. And that's what happens in Derry, and that's what happens when Pennywise is around. You can try to do what you think is the right thing to do, but he's kind of a little bit, you know, 2 steps ahead. He may have planned that, hey, this is kind of what's going to happen when he destroyed the bus, right? And freed him. He knew that there was going to be chaos. He might have even, you know, he was there at the jail, right? And saw as the sweaty guard smiling. So he might have been like, okay, he knows what Charlotte's doing. He knows what she's in on in her kind of MO.
Yeah.
So I think Pennywise kind of knew this is where it was going to head, and you could a little bit of foresight. You think it's this giant power, and you can't go ahead and think, oh, this person might have the shard, right? But this kind of 3 steps ahead in chess. I think that's a lot of what Pennywise is spending his time doing.
Yeah, I think that because so much so in just real life, you think that the goodness is going to overcome, and it usually does, but it usually takes a lot of hits before the goodness, comes out. Because in this episode, I feel like they're naive to the abilities of Pennywise. So it's like, oh, okay, this is evil. They don't know it's Pennywise, but it's like this evilness, and they think, oh, well, if we're just good people and we do the right thing. But that, like you said, I feel like that's what Pennywise is counting on is, okay, they're going to do this, and here's how I counter that, and thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead. I think that's the perfect analogy, because I think that's what's really going on here. And I think Lily is the wild card, because she does have that shard, but she just has no idea what it does. We didn't get a lot of the Native American in this episode, so I think maybe she hooks up with Taniel and maybe he knows, but it's like, I feel like she's going to be on her own for the last couple of episodes here. I don't know. I hope not, but yeah, I mean, it's just like you were saying. I guess my point being, what you were saying is, they're just naive to the idea of what this evil's doing, and so they're just kind of doing what normal people would do, and it's not going to help. It's not going to do anything. So,
I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of characters die. I don't think we're going to get a lot of carryover at the end. I think Lily will survive, if I'm going to predict things. I think she'll survive, but I think she's going to be in the institution. I think she's going to get a lobotomy, and she's going to be in the institution. I think that's what's going to happen. I know there's been some spoilers, showing different things, and I don't want to dive too deeply into that,
right.
When they show like the full season or whatever, and people freeze frame. But I'm hoping that they don't tie in, even though I'd like to see a little bit of tie in to the movie, the next cycle. I still don't want to see a ton of it. I don't want my God, that was that person's mother. Like I don't want to see a ton of that. I know a lot of the story of it is cycles repeating themselves, not just Pennywise, but abuse and neglect and all that sort of stuff. But I don't want to see it pounded into us that everything here was a cycle and everybody was related to someone that you knew from the other movies. Let people be their people. Tie in a couple of things so it's interesting. Keeps that weave going, but don't saturate it.
Well, I think they did. We talked about, I think last pod was the tie-in with Miss Kirsch. That's a good one. I think that's more in line with what you're saying, right? Just one little thing here and there. Yeah, I agree. I don't think it would be very. I think it would just be kind of like what do they call it? Member berries. A member. And too much of that is just, you're just nostalgia stuff. And
didn't we make it through the first movie and the second movie? Did anybody actually die from the Losers Club?
As a whole?
Yeah.
Yeah, Eddie dies, I think. The guy he dies, and Stan dies.
Stan, yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a couple of them that do, die that second cycle when they go back.
Yeah. Oh, when they go back, Eddie is the one. Well,
we get Stan offs himself.
Yeah.
So you get that. He doesn't even decide to go back.
Yeah.
So you can have some of the core people die there. I just don't want to see it carry over too much.
Yeah.
Because me neither. Why weren't they in the movie? That you get into that and like a little tie-in, and Rosebud was the sled type situations. That's fine. But if there are 12 snow globes and they each referred to different parts of his life, it would have been too much.
There's another thing that I heard, that they had to take a break because of all the strikes filming this. So when the kids came back, they kind of Stranger Things. They kind of got older. Did you notice that? I didn't notice that.
I did last week.
Yeah,
because I think that's where the cut was. I think last week was a lot of where the jump was. This week, I think since I saw them last week, I was kind of like, that is who it is.
Yeah,
it's fine.
For me, the only one was Lily. Was the only one that was kind of like, oh, she looks older. She
Will
doesn't
jumped
have
out
that.
for me.
Was that?
Will jumped out for me. Like
Really?
I thought Will definitely looked like a chunk older.
Yeah. Yeah, Lily didn't have that. In the earlier episodes, she still had that like kid. I mean, they're still kids, but or she still looks like a kid, but it's like she just looked a little young. Like she just had that. She had that thing where she was just like, she had that look, that little kid
Yeah.
look. But then in this one, it was like, yeah, she just looked older, but she's still knocking it out of the park, man. Her and Ronnie and Will's coming around on me, man. I thought in the beginning I really didn't like his character. I thought he was a little too stiff, but he's coming around and he's growing on me. And like I said before, like kids as actors, like it's a hit or miss for me. And anyways, it could take me out of the thing, or it can or it could really compel me to keep watching. So yeah, they're still doing a stand up job. My favorite now is getting like Charlotte. I really like her character, and Marge, those two, who I didn't really think about in the first like 3 or 4 episodes. Now I'm like, oh, okay, Marge is coming around, and Charlotte's always been kind of the spearhead of the goodness, but the naive to Pennywise's power goodness, So yeah,
Yeah, Lily was a big part of this episode.
man, she's just getting messed with.
Although I will say, you ever watch a show or a movie and you're like, I would totally like buy that merch if they made a replica. I want the pickle bag, the pickle messenger bag. It was pretty sweet that she had the shard in and everything. That's what I want. It's
That's
like,
awesome.
Made in Derry is pretty sweet.
I was thinking of what I would want from the episode. Just the bikes, I think. This idea too that's this nostalgic part of it, and it's scratching that itch for me, is that when they go someplace, they just ride their bike and then they just leave it on the front lawn, and then they go up, and I just remember those days, and it was.
I had a friend who got a brand new bike for his birthday, and he came over to my house, and I remember, I think my hamster had just died or something like that. I go, oh, do you want to see where we buried my hamster? And he was like, sure. And he just left his bike right out front. And we're in the backyard 3-4 minutes. We come back out, his bike's gone. Just brand new bike, gone. And it's like, come on, man. Like, we should have brought it in. But the kid had to walk home. Just imagine that sad walk home.
Yeah, I think I had a mongoose. What are they called? I can't remember the brand, but it was the mongoose bike, and it had the straight bar, and it was free wheel. So it you needed the handbrakes. You didn't just, because in the older bikes you could just go backwards and
back pedal,
yeah, back pedal. And it was blue, and then had the mongoose on the crossbar. That was my favorite bike ever. And I took it to school, and I brought it when I moved back to Healdsburg. I took it to Healdsburg, and then I rode it to school one day. And then I forgot that I had ridden my bike to school, so I took the bus home. And then I got home, and I'm like, oh, I rode my bike. So I walked back to school, and by the time I walked back, it was gone. And I had it on the lock and everything, But it was, still, I'm like, damn it.
It's the freedom of being a kid, right? You have no place to be, and you have your bike that can take you, you don't have to pay for gas or anything. You just pedal and you make it there.
Yeah.
And these kids have that. They have the little clubhouse where they get to hang out. They have their bikes. If it wasn't for Pennywise, everything would be pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
Ronnie's dad wouldn't be falsely accused of murder. They'd still have their friends. Although one could argue that they wouldn't have such of a bond with these people if Pennywise wasn't involved too, because they all had their own lives going on, their own little friend groups.
Yeah.
Marge wouldn't have gone away from the patty cake. She would have just tried to befriend them and try to get into the popular clique. And Lily would be off on her own, just being the psych ward girl.
Man, Lily, she's just getting messed with. And it's just that, while she's biking away, is just like, damn, this girl is like, she's gone through a lot.
Yeah. And Ingrid kind of turned out the way that we thought, right? We kind of, she's not she's not necessarily working for Pennywise, right? Like, but she's aiding and abetting.
Mhm.
She's getting kids for him to feast on, to dine on, probably in the early stages of him coming back awake, right?
Yeah,
Like it
yeah.
showed the first one when she realizes that she gets to see her dad. And then when, after that, it shows her kind of looking at other kids like, ooh, I could get that kid from the psych hospital and get them
Yeah.
down there for Pennywise and get to see my dad again. So she's trying to just get back and see her dad and that longing. And Pennywise can replicate it. Not only does he kill you and take over your kind of physical being, right, and clone you there, but he's got your brain, he's got your mind. He knows
Yeah.
he can mimic you better than Bill Hader doing a version of Vincent Price on SNL. Like he can really do some trickery there, and I can't really blame her for wanting to see her dad. I think next episode will be really interesting to see how that happened and how they got there, and I think that's why I'm excited for the next episode. I'm thinking maybe they go more into that versus the Black Spot fire, and maybe they do kind of lead that on until the 8th episode.
Yeah, hopefully.
But it'll be interesting to see Ingrid and see what kind of happens there. She's all dressed up in her outfit. She's ready to go kind of see Pennywise and see what's going on. Hopefully see her dad.
Well, and it's interesting too when they had the flashback, which was interesting how they did it in black and white, which I loved.
Mm-hmm.
And
and the camera shots from that, like it was very, very much like Hitchcock type movies from back then.
Yeah, it's the old school, like,
just a standard frame and things moved in the frame, but they didn't move the camera.
Right. Yeah, and that was it just added to that scene. But the point where I was trying to get to was what you brought up with Ingrid and her dad when she's like Daddy or Papa, whatever she calls him, and he realizes like, oh, I can use this.
Yeah,
you
can
see
tell
that
a lot. Yeah,
in an instant. He was like, oh yeah, like he realizes what he can use, which is the whole Dick Hallorann thing. That's his name. Yeah. Dick Hallorann. I was hoping too that was, or not hoping, I was thinking that he was going to be using Dick to do all that stuff. But then I think with the flashback and you see with how he is with Ingrid, it's like using the bully in the movies, the updated movies, as his kind of, what is it? His little,
like his proxy kind of.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. For the real life, to help me get these people, and I think he needs one of those for every cycle. And so he just found his, and now he's like, oh, you're still around. Cool. Get these kids, get Lily. Because he was able to do that with the original guy that got killed. Jesus. So bad. I have it written down too, but then I can't find where I wrote it down. Anyways, yeah, so he's able to kind of work in the real life as well with these people. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see next episode where that goes and whether she's all dressed up as Periwinkle, and if he reacts differently. I don't think he's going to. I think he's not going to show any love. He's the dad isn't in there, right? He's just replicating. It's just a photocopy of it. So I don't think she's going to get what she wants. I think she's going to meet a violent end. Yeah, if I were to say my prediction for her, and we've got a lot can come out in the next 2 episodes. I think it's going to be painful. I think it's going to hurt. There's going to be a lot there that comes at us. And we're going to be ready for it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it, man. Can't wait. The how do you say it? Penultimate. Yeah,
2 more episodes. We'll see where they lead us and where they leave us at the end. I'm already excited for them to go back another cycle and show us the previous cycle. It'll be interesting. It'll be definitely a step back there, which it's kind of like watching a Christmas Story. If we're in the 80s and you watch the Christmas Story and it's like, oh, that's like a jump back in time. Like, we wouldn't remember it ourselves, but it's interesting to see it portrayed on film. So we'll see a nice jump back next season. And we'll see what happens the next 2 episodes. What do you think's going to happen? Let us know in the comments. We're happy to to respond back, to check it out, to see what you think's going to happen. Is Lily going to make it? I think Lily's probably going to be the only survivor out of the group, except for Will and Ronnie. Well, so that doesn't make her the only survivor, Scott. That makes 3 out of the 5 as survivors. But I think Marge is going to go. I think Drummer Boy's going to go. I think we're going to lose some people, except the ones that we know are in the next season. So who do you think is going to drop? Who do you think next episode after that? Do you think they're going to show us any tie-ins to the movies when it all is said and done? So let us know. YouTube, Instagram, wherever you find us, let us know. We want to hear your opinion. Until then, this is another episode of whatever this is called. Just remember, we're not mad. We're just disappointed. We'll see you next time.